There's a lot of things going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's
a lot of
things going on.
I need to know about DOGE. What happened? You're on this podcast. You give us this beautiful soliloquy about the managerial class. We're moved. And like, it was so important that I was like, I need you to break it down dumb. Obviously, you're a very smart guy. So I was like,
you guys say that, break it down dumb, but I know you're into the center of it. I remember that.
Sixth grade.
I'm a moron.
We're sixth graders.
I'll tell you, if you can't explain it to a sixth grader, it means you don't understand it yourself.
That's what Epstein said. Okay.
Get ready.
Okay, so I see you just deliver this amazing thing. It's crazy on Twitter. Everybody's like, you got it.
Then after we met, where one of the core chapters was about dismantling the administrative state. So this is my passion.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All of a sudden, Trump announces that you and Elon are running DOGE.
Yes. I'm so excited.
I'm like, finally, this is going to happen. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you say you hate American workers or something.
Come on. No. He said they were too dumb.
None
of the above.
We need to light a fire under. We can talk a lot about
we're going to talk about
light
that.
a fire under our feet. No, we're going to talk about that in a second. But no. So what happened? And now you're leaving DOGE on the precipice of actually cleaning up the government, getting the managerial class out of there, fixing everything.
We got a good head start, by the way, in the 2 months leading up to inauguration.
Yeah.
But
they did use that 2 months. I'm just doing a React Live, so I'll be jumping from clips, whatever interests me. They did use those 2 months, as we can see. Obviously, Vivek's out. We know he announced officially. He didn't keep it a secret that he's running for governor of Ohio. But going into the presidency, Donald Trump was on the treadmill. He was already running on the treadmill. Like, he jumped on it running. They used their time very wisely.
I'll give you the high level. There's a short story and long story. I can give you the short story for sure. And the short story, both are accurate, but the short story I can give you. The short story is it evolved from a focus on where I was focused, legal, constitutional issues, legislative issues of, if you want to save a lot of money, you got to do it through legislation. If you want to look at the Supreme Court
there ain't no legislation in Congress is so difficult to do. So this is Vivek. I never reacted to this. He's talking about what happened with DOGE. And for me, I am interested in this still because I don't think Elon Musk should be running DOGE anymore. I don't trust him. I mean, I'm just looking at it. I should have never trusted him before. But the Ashley St. Clair stuff, and I'm not reliving that whole thing right now, but what it did bring up to light is she came on and she's basically begging, she could be trying to set him up for a legal thing or whatever, but still, that's what it is she's begging the father of her child for some type of acknowledgement. And this bro just doesn't even acknowledge her. Man, that's not even on some legal stuff. That's just on your relationship with God. That at that point, that's between you, God, and the mother of your children. Should be wife, but in this case, mother of children. And if you can't handle that, I can't trust you with anything. So then I go back and I look through on DOGE and I'm like, it's just like the Twitter files. He only showed us what he wanted to. Nothing came of it. All he did with the Twitter files was try to gain trust of people. And you have all these right-wingers who trust Elon Musk because that's where they're getting their money from. If you go against Elon, you're done on X. If you're with Elon and he retweets you and stuff like that, you can make some money. So he's just trying to gain trust. I don't trust him off the rip. Then I was like, wait a second, this is the same dude who doxed young Nick, and I'm not going to say his name on here. He's going to be Voldemort because I'm on my after show Carnage. I'm trying to keep that channel pure. So it doesn't so I know it doesn't get put up under because I'm talking about the hats and naming them directly. And young Nick too. So then he allows a dox of young Nick to get millions of views on his site against his own terms and conditions, hasn't acknowledged it. He's propping up the post of his baby mama while he knows, and other people on X know. Laura Loomer knew. She knew and didn't say anything. Allegedly, Elijah Schaefer knew, and Pearl Davis knew, and I guess they all knew and didn't say anything. Why is that? Are you cool with her or what? I know Pearl Davis isn't. I guess they said they didn't know for sure or whatever. But my point is, I don't trust it because to me, that's laundering money. Especially you're not transparent. So even if you don't think that's laundering money, I'm saying he's getting ad money and he's propping it up to his friends and his baby mama and pretending like, oh, join X, you can earn money and you might get $20 and his baby mama's getting every 2 weeks, at least at the time she did it, $7,500. That's to me laundering money. That's a falsehood. That's consumer fraud, in my opinion. And this is the guy I'm going to trust for an audit. We're talking about life or death, doxing. And I actually think, I mean, this is an unpopular take, but I actually think the doxing is legal. There's no law against it, posting somebody's address when it's public information. But he says he has a website. He has terms and conditions. They took down Ken Flippenstein when he didn't even dox JD Vance, but they still blocked him or whatever, took him down. And they didn't do that for Nick. So would he have done that for his baby mama? Of course he would have. So we've got all kinds of trust issues, right? And that's not even all of them. And you think I'm going to trust him to run Doge? I would trust this Jeet before Elon Musk. Of course. Of course I would trust Vivek over that. Well, let's get back to the clip.
Landscape for the last few years. It says a lot of these regulations are unconstitutional. That's where I had been focused. And, you know, the way it's gotten started, and you can see this publicly as well, is much more of a technology and digital technology focus.
Okay, so just slow down for a second.
Yeah.
So you were going to use the Constitution to remove legislation.
Well, to remove regulations.
Sorry, regulations.
Yeah.
So you're going to use legislation to remove regulations.
And I've written about this for the last year, right? So
can you give an
But that's not a good approach. That's not, no, the approach that they're taking with Doge is right. And Vivek might be telling the truth because that doesn't match up with what, I mean, he could have made that up too to gracefully leave, but that approach is not going to work. They're going fast, hard hitting. You've got to go straight executive order, executive action. Congress will follow because they'll see people cheerleading on the sidelines. And that's the way to go. You can attack it that way too, but that's a long-term thing.
example of that?
Yeah, I can give a good example of that. So, you know, not to get too academic too quickly, but basically, Congress is supposed to pass the laws and the executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws. But it turns out that most of the laws that decide what you can and can't do in your life were actually never passed by Congress. They were passed by people who were never elected to their position.
The managerial
class, the bureaucrats in DC.
What's a law? Give me an example.
Yes, so they don't call laws, they call them rules, but they have the effect of laws.
Right.
Let's say the amount of fees that fishermen have to pay to the government to have a license to be able to fish in a particular area. Let's say it is the registration requirement before.
Yeah, that's not the vision of Doge.
A bank or an asset manager is allowed to do business. Let's say it is the procedural hoop that a biotech company has to jump through before advancing from phase 1 to phase 2 of the development process. Let's say it's the permission that a coal miner or a nuclear energy plant has to get as permission from the government before they build a new nuclear energy plant, which, by the way, has not happened in 20 years in this country because the red tape associated with doing so is so impossible.
Now, I imagine
none of those were passed by Congress.
Yes.
None of those were passed by people that we, the people, elected.
Right.
They were written into law. They call them rules, but effectively into law by unelected bureaucrats.
Right.
And the thing is, that's not a democracy, right? It might be something else, but it's not a democracy because in a democracy, if somebody makes a law that affects you, you get to vote them out. That's what it makes a law. These are more like edicts.
Yeah.
Right? Edicts come from a king because
Yeah.
you can't vote him out. This doesn't come from a king, but it's a new kind of edict of a bureaucracy.
So just so I can
that
understand,
was the problem.
You're not against regulation as long as it's decided by democratically elected officials.
That's my most foundational principle. It so happens in my
Because
own
some of these-
politics, I'm generally pretty libertarian. I tend to be against. I think most of these regulations tend not to
But
be.
sometimes-
Well, what happened, this is a completely different thing than Doge, but it is something I've thought about in the past. It gets kind of geeky and nerdy, really. But what they're really doing is Congress is saying we can't do a law for every little thing, like how much, I don't know, if I'm not an expert in all this stuff, but I'll just make something up, how often does a farmer have to till their field? Congress is like, we're not going to make laws on that. So we'll leave that up to this agency to do a regulation. And then the judicial system reviews it and Congress is like, we're out. We just give you the general law and then the regulations have to come from the executive branch. But you see how that the EPA does that. It leaves room for manipulation.
Productive. You need regulation.
But the most important principle is if you're going to have it, at least let the people who it affects to say, if it's not working out for me, I want to be able to vote you out. Now, I need to be able to vote you out. That's the most important principle.
Just so we can understand, like a lot of this probably comes from good intentions.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So these aren't like evil people.
Truther, let me know. Truther News Talk says, I totally disagree. Let me know what you disagree with. Appreciate you stopping by.
People necessarily.
There's certainly malicious people in all kinds of domains of life.
Yes.
And the government is no exception to that.
Right.
And you can see some egregious examples of it. But by and large, I think what we're talking about the regulatory state, the overwhelming majority of federal bureaucrats who I've met are good people because most people are good people.
Yeah.
And they believe what they're doing is not for the detriment of the American people.
It's for the betterment of the American
But it's for the betterment of the American people. It's a kind of elite benevolence.
Yes.
And it's sort of skeptical of democracy because the idea that you could just leave it to ordinary people to decide this complicated stuff. We can't leave it to ordinary people because they're going to harm themselves.
They're too dumb.
We have to make that. Exactly. And that was the whole premise of the British monarchy. It's kind of the whole premise of the modern federal bureaucracy.
But I get that. I think it's nice to not paint all these people who are creating this, what do you call it? Creating
bureaucracy, red tape, regulation, exactly.
As nefarious. Because that's
I think
not the case.
By and large, most human beings are not nefarious.
And a lot of times it's reactionary. Like I think
most human beings are good people.
Yeah, there was
good intentions.
There was like a fire in New York, I'm pretty sure. And I think one of the rooms was created in like an apartment building. And I think a fireman died because they built the room but didn't ask the city for permission. So the plot or the plan that they had. So then I think what the knee-jerk reaction was to say, you cannot do anything to your apartment without permission for the whole city. I'm probably butchering this.
Yeah, but it's the kind of example you see all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And I get that knee-jerk reaction because you want to protect firemen. These guys are brave. They're running into a fire.
And it's actually a great example because you see that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to be honest about it, these things are not easy, not black or white. How do you solve for that? Is it a problem? Yeah, it is. I mean, you never want to see a fireman not make it because of that. So some of these things are difficult.
That same type of incentive structure show up all the time where someone at the FDA, they rarely will get hauled in front of some hearing if they fail to approve a drug that saves lives.
Okay, he got a little bit too geeky there. I'm going to just break down the most recent news that I heard from today. Vivek Ramaswamy is running officially for governor of Ohio. And I want to break down a little bit of what's going on. Ohio seems to be like a hotbed of tech bros in a way, but he's 39 years old. He's a biotech entrepreneur, of course, and he's officially kicking off his campaign. On February 24th this year, 2025, he's going to be holding events. He is from Cincinnati. He's going to have events in Columbus, Toledo, and Cleveland. If you don't know, I am from Cleveland, Ohio. His early strategy centers on high visibility grassroots engagement. This is a deep research. This is from me doing a deep research search on ChatGPT, which is just the most amazing part of ChatGPT right now for me. You can create your own Wikipedia article, basically. He has lined up seasoned Ohio political strategists. He's scheduled visits to 30 county GOP dinners. He's going to be wining and dining, aggressively touring the state. And he's going to get all that kicked off because the DOGE thing didn't work out. It's probably for the best. After listening to his take on it, I know it might have been for other reasons, but I do think he probably wasn't the best fit for it. Now that I look at it, I would trust him over Elon, but he doesn't have the same vision as Elon. But really, Donald Trump's up. He's the one running that. The polling data is early, and I normally don't even talk about polling, but there was some stuff that came up here. The primary is still a month away. Early polling indicates Ramaswamy is the front runner by a wide margin. A late January Fabrizio Lee poll of likely Republican primary voters showed Ramaswamy with 52% support, far ahead of Yost with 18%. That's Attorney General, what's the first name? It's Dave Yost. So that's the polling looks like Ramaswamy, and that's via the ellisinsight.com is the source for that one. In other words, Ramaswamy has a 34-point lead ahead of his nearest rival in that survey, at least. It's this internal poll commissioned by Ramaswamy's people, so a grain of salt, a huge grain of salt, suggests that his national profile and outsider message has translated. But I would believe it. It matches. He's well known. Who knows Yost? I don't know Yost, but I don't know if they know him in Ohio. I don't live there anymore. I'm not following it that closely. But as far as the tech bro, Ohio in recent years has emerged as a kind of Silicon heartland. So it's kind of like it's not Silicon Valley, but people are going out there. Obviously, J.D. Vance, known, but there is more tech investment. Ohio's economy has seen an influx of technology and manufacturing projects in the last few years. A marquee example is Intel's massive semiconductor facility. And I think did that come from the CHIPS Act? Let me ask, did Intel's massive semiconductor facility come from CHIPS Act? I don't know. I think that was in the works before that, but it did. It says yes. Let me see if I can get a source on it before, because it says all kinds of ChatGPT. It's AI say all kind of crazy stuff if you don't vet it. But it looks like there's a lot here. Short answer, yes, but at a smaller scale. Intel was already planning to build in Ohio, but might have scaled back investment if the CHIPS funding didn't materialize. I haven't taken the time to go back to it. I don't even have a source with this, but I believe this. So take it with a grain of salt. The only source is ChatGPT on this answer. It says that, yes, it did play a role. And if I was looking back at Joe Biden, the only thing I might agree that I'm aware of that Joe Biden did was signing the CHIPS and Science Act, which might not have been perfect, but I think there's some to like there. Especially if I say I'm not for war in Taiwan and they're doing all the semiconductors, then you have to do something here. And I'll have to analyze the bill. I didn't analyze the bill, but in theory, I can definitively say, in theory, how they sold the bill, I fully agree with it. It's just a matter of the fine print. Let's go back and see what the comments are. I think I'm seeing some comments here. My comments might be from Truth. Let's see. No, I don't see Truth Walker News. Trey McVell says, bro, what Vivek is describing was a part of what DOGE was supposed to be about. If you read the official paper he and Elon published shortly after DOGE was announced, you'll see that he's correct. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Let me rephrase my take, and I can pull that up. Thank you for that information, Trey. That's not what I'm about. So let me rephrase that. I like what Elon's doing, but the problem with Elon is I don't trust him, and he doesn't have transparency. He doesn't put. I went to the DOGE website. It's doge.gov, and there's nothing on there. What is this? Savings, nothing. Receipts, what is this? So I don't know. Maybe it's going to come. I don't know, but that's the DOGE. That's the official website there. There's nothing there. And I understand the regulation part, but that gets really in the weeds. It doesn't get your base really hyped up to talk about regulations. So there's something behind the scenes to do. The stuff that Elon is doing is easy to digest, easy to understand, easy to use as a weapon against your political enemy. So I'm more for what Elon is doing right there. But thank you for the information, Trey. DOGE did evolve from what it was originally supposed to be. Vivek is not saying that's bad. No, I agree with that. But anyone who's paid attention to Vivek knows that what he's describing has always been his full passion. I didn't realize that regulation was his full passion, but I followed him, but I obviously not as close as Trey, but thank you for that. Chuck says it was announced before the CHIPS. Yeah, so it was announced before the CHIPS Act, but that had to play a role, though. I mean, it's hard to say that the CHIPS Act didn't play a role. Couldn't hurt. And Chuck confirmed. Thank you. That confirms what ChatGPT said. Yeah, no, Intel is struggling. I have to look at the CHIPS Act, but I am concerned about this government subsidy stuff. And let me ask the ChatGPT, would you consider the CHIPS Act? Because I haven't looked at it in a while. This was 2022 when he did that. Would you consider the CHIPS Act a government? I'm sure the answer is yes, but I just want to make sure. Government subsidy, and why? So I want to get that answer here. So I'm going to pull that up. I'm just doing some B-roll. Okay. So it says, the CHIPS Act provides direct funding, tax credits, and incentives. So direct funding from the government. Direct federal funding, $52.7 billion. This is via ChatGPT. I should just ask it to source. I'm going to ask it to source to double check. Rewrite with independent sources to confirm. So I'm just going to double check so I'm not out here spewing nonsense. Okay, so via commerce.gov, total funding for the CHIPS Act. So this is direct, and I am going to the commerce.gov website for it to see it. 2 years later, funding CHIPS and Science Act. So I can confirm $52.7 billion to bolster domestic semiconductor manufacturing and research. Manufacturing grants, approximately $39 billion designated for direct subsidies to companies establishing or expanding semiconductor fabrication plants within the U.S. Tax incentives. So I'm going to leave the tax incentives alone. There's a 25/7 investment tax incentive. The total funding of $52.7 billion. I don't like this government subsidy without protections for people, for the citizens. I am sorry, if you take 1 penny from the government, you are now a public entity. I don't care if it's a penny. Because you now have incentive not to speak out against the government, or if the government asks you to do something, you will do it. I know Intel is behind now, but Intel is going to be involved in chips and all kinds of different things, and hopefully they're going to bounce back. That's what Make America Great Again is about, hoping that car manufacturing and chips manufacturing is done here in the U.S., in Cleveland, in the heartland like that they are independent actors. So there has to be, you can't allow these companies to take money, $52 billion from the government with no downside. What's the downside? What is I'm just going to take a look. What is the downside of Intel, for example, taking government money? My concern is that when citizens buy the product, use the product, they're not given constitutional rights. So the downside is, like, Tesla gets government contracts. The downside should be Tesla, you by law cannot, well, there's no need to put a new law. You just get constitutional rights, meaning freedom of speech. As it stands now, there is nothing that stops Tesla from turning your car into a brick because you spoke out against the tiny hats or whatever else you spoke out against Elon Musk's baby mama. It could be that simple. Elon Musk doesn't like your take on the H-1B visa. He has not done that. I'm not saying he has. There's no law that says he can't. They own the software in your car, just like a phone. Android can take this. This is an Android phone. It's the Pixel 9 XL. I love the Pixel phones, actually. I actually have owned, fun fact, I've actually owned every single Pixel phone that the Pro version of every single one, from the 1 to the 9. Actually, the 1 was actually pretty dope. But Android could brick this. Android could say, they could. Android could say, you know what, with your phone, we don't like you, bruh. Your software is gone, done. Now you still own the phone. You can kind of jailbreak it and put your own software on there. But my point is, if you're taking money from the government, you shouldn't be able to do that. Let's see what ChatGPT says on the downside. Government influence without accountability, corporate control without public insight. Let's see here. Unlike government-run entities, corporations like Intel are not bound by the Constitution in the same way as public institutions. If Intel builds semiconductor technology using AI surveillance, digital IDs, there's no constitutional First or Fourth Amendment protection on how that tech is used. I understand that, but once you start taking government money, then there should be. Where am I wrong? Somebody tell me where I'm wrong on that. No constitutional protection for users. Private companies, they're not private anymore. If you take, it's over. It's not like all 52 went to Intel, but I don't care how much. That's the same thing that's happening with the USAID stuff, giving it to these organizations, and they're called non-government organizations. Bull-ish. That is a government organization. If you take money from the government, you are a government organization. Period. I don't understand why that's a complicated take. I haven't heard anybody say anything that has even come close to changing my mind on this. I'm going to some other clips here. Let's take a look here. This looks like a Tim Pool episode. Let's see what's going on here. Keep it moving.
Why CNN's dead? Because instead of having an honest conversation about what's really going on, they just keep bringing on people who lie. And then you get this from Mediaite. Zip it. CNN's Kate Bolden. I don't know how to say her name. And Scott Jennings.
I always move on and then get the comments. I apologize. Let me get to the comments here. Chuck says downside, they already get pressure from the bankers and investors for DEI and ESG. That's more government stuff. ESG and DEI don't exist without the federal government. Taking money from the government makes this kind of non-competitive behavior. Yeah, so I think Chuck agrees with me. That's not a downside though. What I mean is, what they're going in bed. I want you to think of this as you are sleeping with somebody. So we have the federal government and Intel. I'm just using them as an example. This applies to farmers. It applies to Tesla, any company. So you have Intel going into bed with the government. They're sleeping together. What is the downside? DEI is the government. ESG is the government. There's no downside there. So when I say what's the downside is, you've got to now guarantee the rights of the users no different than a social media platform. Trey McVell says, yeah, I completely agree about the lack of transparency from Elon with Doge, bro. I hope to see far more clarity in the future. And thank you. Great comments by Trey. And I guarantee you, Trey, you're not going to get it. I guarantee you that. I follow Elon Musk very closely, and he has never done that. What he does is the facade of it. Remember, he said on X, I'm going to give you the algorithm. What kind of bullish did we get? We got a static version of the algorithm that is a snapshot picture. The algorithm changes every effing second. So what does a snapshot do? Okay, we got that. We analyzed it. I broke that down. That was years. What are we going to do with that? We don't know what that means now. What if he has a new baby mama pop up and there's a new... So not only is it static, in the static algorithm that he used as transparency, it talks about a backdoor algorithm. Where's the backdoor algorithm? I mean, he is the facade of transparency. The Twitter files, he releases the Twitter files. The only thing that happened with the Twitter files is he let some select journalists, same ish he does on Twitter now, he retweets Ian Miles Chung, a Malaysian clown, to talk about American politics. Now it's Insurrection Barbie. And he's kind of reframing and taking these people who at times might have been even dissidents and forcing them into the narrative where they're basically the same as Fox News talking heads. So he did the same thing with the Twitter files. He has the files of what the whole thing with Jack Dorsey and everything, and he's cool with Jack Dorsey. So you see what I mean? He's cool with Jack Dorsey. So how do we know you didn't cover up everything that would implicate Jack Dorsey? So he has the Twitter files, everything. He filters out what he wants to show and only gives it to a select journalist. Jack Posobiec famously, right when the Twitter files came out, he said, bro, just release all the files to everybody. So Jack backed off of that because he doesn't want to get hit in the algorithm. He doesn't do that anymore. He has over 1 million followers. I guarantee if you keep doing that, algorithm boost, done. You won't even know who Jack Posobiec is on X. But at that time, I never forget, Jack was like, he was the only one that had like a lot of followers who said, bruh, just release the files. Same with the JFK stuff. This is Trump, but I guarantee you, Elon's, it's the same MO as Elon. I guarantee you, Elon told Trump is basically handling, in my opinion, all the international stuff and everything domestic is under. I think DOGE is way bigger than just the AI on the Treasury. I think Elon is handling everything domestically. That's just my opinion. I don't know. They don't have the how would you know? That's just my opinion. That's the impression I get. So I guarantee you the same thing. You have all the files and we filter it through a select group of people. So Elon allegedly, or this is Trump's responsibility, says we're going to release the JFK files. All of a sudden we have hold up. We have a tiny hat. We have we have a tiny hat.
Finish him.
We have a tiny hat ex-stripper who runs a committee, and somehow they're in the way between us seeing the files. We don't need you to see the files. Same thing happened with the Twitter files. All of a sudden, Schellenberger, and was it Lee Fang, who's dope, but Lee Fang, and it was Barry Rice, and okay, just release the file. I can read. I don't need Barry Weiss. What's that about? I don't need what's the name of the dude? Michael? No, it's I forget the name of the I forgot the leftist journalist. I don't need them. Just give me the files. I got my own AI. I'll analyze it myself. So no, he didn't allow that. He gave it straight to a certain selected journalist. Nobody else saw it. And then they did these awkward Twitter threads. That's what it was. So there was some good information in there, but what change came from it? Did he even advocate for he didn't even advocate for change. He maybe said, I was going to show you some stuff in the algorithm. He never did that. The back door open to the FBI still could be there. We don't know. What came from the Twitter files? What substantive change came from the Twitter files? He's now in power underneath Trump. He's not even talking about it. So I guarantee you there ain't going to be no transparency. He might have baby mamas in USAID and still funneling them money. Vi says, I don't know, from what I've seen, Intel is down because of quality control issues. I haven't followed it closely, so thanks at all. I haven't followed Intel at all. They've been having a lot of issues with oxidation in their CPU chipsets. Man, we got a good comment section going. I appreciate these are some good comments. So let me read it again. Vise says, I don't know, from what I've seen, Intel is down because of quality control issues. They've been having a lot of issues with oxidation on their CPU chipsets lately, and they don't seem to care about it. Man, that's deep. I had no idea about that. The government money is not going to help that too. But I mean, I'm not actually against the government money. To me, that's like a self-defense thing. I'd rather that not go to the Department of Defense and we build our own stuff so we don't have to defend Taiwan, whatever. I don't even know how many, was it 15, 20,000 miles away, literally halfway across the globe. Why are we over there? For some semiconductors, why don't we make them here? Chuck says DEI and ESG was started by woke capital first. Think BlackRock, and Tiny Hats. It's kind of a public-private partnership. Yeah, it is literal fascism, is what. And basically, it's the front. They're not talking about DEI and ESG. ESG are kind of being phased out, it seems like, because everybody's onto it now. It's straight up fascism. It's just the face of fascism. The government merging with the biggest private companies in the world. We're talking about State Street and Vanguard and BlackRock. These are the companies that own $14 trillion and all this crazy numbers of assets. Trey McVell says, you don't have to read it all, but I wanted to bring my receipts. No, I appreciate it, man. This is good. I'm just streaming, man. Sadly, I agree with you, bro. I'm hoping this is Trey McVell again. Sadly, I agree with you, bro. I'm hoping we would get more transparency, but you are totally right about Elon. I like many aspects of the guy, but I do not trust him for true transparency. I value authenticity. Trey that's an authentic response. I see a lot of these whack MAGA people just like, oh, y'all love to Elon. I like Elon. The reason why I followed Elon was out of admiration. When I first started my channel, I went on with the homie Warren Redlick, who, might not like where I'm at now because I'm very harsh against that funny country over there. But I still like Warren. And I went on with Warren and had a discussion. And I talked to him about how I tell my kids about Elon Musk, about how he works harder than the next person. He uses first principle thinking that anybody can do. That's his strength, is really first principle thinking. He just actually does it and follows it. And most people don't. I follow Elon very closely. It was out of admiration. It has turned sour because life is complicated. There is nobody other than Jesus where I'm looking at like, you are perfect. So I agree with your take, Trey. I like some of what Elon does, and I criticize Elon. That's damn near everyone, including myself. Trey said I'm cooking. I don't know, man. Appreciate you. Echuk says, yes, fascism is like the left-wing kooks who believe in things that match up with early 1930s Yahtzees. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily, what's up, Ray Studios, friend of the show? I'm not necessarily even against fascism. I have been totally changed because we're supposed to have a constitutional republic and they're blocking the executive from doing executive action. So what do we really have? I don't even know what we have. We have a culture that is so bifurcated, we don't agree on anything. And basically, somebody else is ruling this. Unelected federal civil servants, deep state, and ones that are administrative state are ruling this country. So it doesn't matter in many ways who the executive is. That's not a republic. So I'm not against fascism because what we have is, I don't even know what to call it. I'm not against communism or any of that. I don't care. They're all tools to get something done. So I have changed a lot from that. Let me get to this Tim Pool. We'll change topics and get to this Tim Pool. I don't even know what this one's about. Let's listen.
Added in heated debate over a January 6th. Well, it's more than that.
Oh, it's January.
In this clip, they basically have some dude lying.
No, I'm not doing January 6th right now. So let me keep going, looking at what I got here. And I might just go to Destiny. I just really like what Destiny. I'm just gonna go to Destiny right now. I really like what Destiny's doing, man. I can't lie. His content is top tier right now. He is doing his thing, man. They need to put him back on Twitch, to be honest with you. He's cooking. I agree with Hassan. If you just put me up, who do you agree with more, Hassan Piker or Destiny? I agree with Hassan Piker more. But who has better content right now as far as their streaming is Destiny is just off the hook. Every video is just a dope is just a dope upload from what I've seen. Let me go and see. Let's see what I want to watch from him. I'm not in the mood for gender talk. Oh my gosh. Arguing over who a man and a woman is so effing. It helps in the algorithm. Look, he probably had a lot of, yep, I looked at it. I didn't even need to look at it. Yeah, oh wait, who? Oh, I don't know what that is actually. It's just a one-on-one though. Actually, I will check this out real quick. I flipped up in 2 seconds. I thought it was like some type of him reacting to some gender thing. You see the Daily Wire doing that stuff all the time because they're trying to get it off of another topic onto something that everybody agrees with. And let's hear what they're saying.
Conservative individuals who say there are only 2 genders. Do they have a point? Yeah, they have 98% of a point. There are mostly just 2 genders. Is there space on the periphery for some gender stuff that's not just 1 or 2? Oh yeah, hell yeah. But if you say like these are hateful fucks, I have no idea where they're coming from. Like, stop. They're almost completely correct. The thing they're doing wrong is saying There are only two genders, where they could just say, it's mostly two genders. And the real thing they're doing.
I'm not even interested in the gender conversation and the way Destiny's setting it up. I'm interested in the video. Man, he is really doing his thing. I have to eat so much crow. The Destiny fans, they come on the comments, man, on the after show channel Carnage. On the other channel, that I don't have many Destiny fans there, but on the after show Carnage, man, they cook me, man, in the comments. Even though Destiny's takes, a lot of his takes are whack, his videos are, he has good commentary and good discussion.
Wrong is making trans people feel derided and unwelcome. Huge fraction of why people have certain political opinions is they just have a lot of feelings. And running a society for certain objective outcomes that we mostly agree on, for example, how many people want dirty streets? Sweet. How many people want unclean waters? You can't drink. Dope. How many people want unclean air? Cool. High crime? Expensive education? Yeah. Super expensive food people can't afford. National defense, not a priority. So ISIS can just establish a caliphate here if they want. It's almost everyone's for the same shit.
Yeah.
Then we can ask the question of how do we engineer a society to get to those things without
all those things that you mentioned? Well, I guess except for the border one. He's mostly mentioning local level, state or lower.
Like trampling on other things we like. Like how many people are against their own individual liberty? No one. So individual.
No, that's not true. Oh no, that's not true. Every day somebody tells me that X is a private corporation, so they can censor however they want. That's being against your own liberty. Elon Musk literally works for the president right now. How do you call X a private organization while Elon works for the president? Does that make any goddamn sense? That is arguing against your liberty. So that's the first liberty, the first of the Bill of Rights.
But he's big. Everyone likes it, right? Sweet. So how do we conserve as much liberty as we can while vectoring into those good places is a technical question of economics and social construction. And that question intersects sometimes with political biases people have from political right and left, for example, and many other vectors, but only in some cursory way. And most of the time when people are like, well, I don't like that, they're just having a lot of feelings and they're getting distracted from the technical problem of how do we do these things properly.
Yeah, I've started borrowing a lot, kind of from this emotivist perspective, to where when people are saying they don't like a thing or we shouldn't do a thing, I'm trying to figure out what they're actually saying, because
Destiny lost a little bit of weight.
Oftentimes it's not the thing that they're expressing. Sure. And then oftentimes people will say that, people might say something like I don't want to be involved in war anymore in the United States. And then Trump will say something about Greenland and they'll say okay, well, I want to attack Greenland. And
yeah, I agree. I don't know what the hell the take is of Make America Great Again by acquiring Greenland. This isn't the 16th century. This isn't the 15th century where there's expansion happening and needed. If you want to argue about expansion, Elon's actually right. Space is the next frontier. That is the equivalent to, because I'm a fan of the exploration age of, back then, but that's not what this Greenland thing is. We can't even handle the continental states. Why would we want to do anything with Greenland? I understand they're talking about military and stuff like that. They need to worry more about the homeland as far as defense.
It's easy to try to evaluate these statements as, okay, well, they said that they were anti-war and now they're pro-war.
Yep.
Well, it seems like they're hypocrites, when in reality, the statement was never I'm anti-war or I'm pro-war. What they're probably emoting, what they're saying is, I don't want to be involved in wars that I don't see like a good justification or rationalization.
Exactly. He's absolutely right. That's all MAGA is. Destiny's absolutely right. And MAGA is not anti-war. They fully support the unliving of what's happening in the Middle East. They don't care about Somalia and all that. And I don't care about Somalians, but I do care that we are lighting them up like a Christmas tree. Trump has already done that. And MAGA has no problem with it. So Destiny's absolutely right. MAGA is not anti-war at all.
For it's probably what they're saying.
Like a tautology, but yes. A lot of times people are just expressing those in emotive language.
It seems like it, but I find that
bad. You're like, whoa.
A little bit, yeah. But I find that people will say things like that, but then they'll
even violate that.
Kind of, yeah. Or they won't realize they won't realize the extent of what they're saying. And then when it comes to some other area, they will get tied up in the former statement and they won't be able to apply it, I guess, like fairly or reasonably in other areas. That just, and what I'm saying there about the, I don't want to be involved in war versus I don't want to be involved in unjust war, there will be a lot of, people won't even be aware of what it is. I guess the extent to what they're saying is a great example. This might be like
no, they're aware of it because when you bring it to their light, it's a cognitive dissonance. But when you bring it to their light, they'll block you. They'll, X is where we have these. I have these conversations, not in person, but they know. At some point, they know, and they just can't face it.
I'm opposed to all government like assistance or subsidies or whatever. You find a lot of conservatives that'll say stuff like this, but if they're older, my God, don't touch their fucking Social Security because it's all over for you. Or I think that the government shouldn't subsidize anything. And it's like, okay, what about your churches, right? And it's like, okay, well, hold on, maybe they do deserve tax breaks. Or for the left, it could be like, we need to defund the police. It's like, okay, well, the most expensive new tech that we brought on are body cams, so we're getting rid of all of those. And it's like, okay, well, hold on. We talk about police training, or we talk about sending out EMS or people for, mental health emergencies with the cops as well. Like, okay, well, this all needs more funding. It's like, okay, maybe I don't mean defund the police. Maybe when I say defund,
he's being fair here. He actually went after the defund the police. He's an establishment guy, so it kind of makes sense. But I agree with everything he said so far.
The police, what I really mean is I want less funding going to police that I think are engaging in bad activity, but maybe there should be more funding going to police. But that doesn't slogan as
against
well.
bad police activity.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But that's not as marketable and everything. So it's frustrating, I guess, kind of bringing that out of people, because when you go into the political world, start arguing with people, they will defend the slogans and they will defend, and then sometimes get caught up in a world where they're trying to defend the slogans, to where I've argued with people who take that, like, we shouldn't be involved in foreign wars position. And I'll say, like, well, what about like World War II?
That's a tough one, huh?
And
no, it's not a tough one. We should not have been involved. Why? I haven't even heard a clear argument why we should have been. No,
well, if we would have been a trade partner to everyone and an ally to no one, it's possible that just through trading with, the British, and then that we would have cut off Japan's ability to win this war in this front, or we would have cut off Germany's ability to proceed more if we would have traded. And it was actually our interview. Like, you'll get into so many worlds from it where it's like, wouldn't it be like, do we really feel this way? There's a lot of, when it comes to politicking or arguing political stuff, the vast majority of it is like chewing through people's rhetoric or trying to figure out what they actually mean, rather than, let's look at the study and let's look at this discrete stuff. Because kind of like you said, I guess this ties back to the gym stuff completely. A lot of it is, I wouldn't say solved, but we kind of know the answers if you remove ideology from it. Like, you can watch 50 trillion videos on, optimal lifting form and optimal dieting and all this shit. But there's some retard that goes to the gym and curls in the squat rack and is only ever in the Smith machine, who has a better physique than you. And he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but he just does shit every day and he likes going, he has fun with it. And that's it,
Sure.
Yeah, that a lot of it is just like this kind of like nibbling around the edges, or people are getting lost in the ideology instead of focusing on the actual problems itself.
Yeah, I would say that if you
Destiny's way better than Lex Friedman at this.
If you consider yourself intelligent,
and Lex is actually good. It's not really a diss at Lex.
And you consider yourself a rational thinker, a really good mental exercise to do is excise all ideology from your headspace as a temporary exercise, and try to aim for a world outcome which you think is nice and everyone will like, and then see, like, okay, so which ideologies on the margins are helpful and which ones aren't. And I
don't like this concept of ideologies being on the margin. Because it sounds like you're saying because they're on the margin, they're wrong. Well, young Nick is on the margin and he's based. I mean, I probably would agree with him on 90% of things.
I'm going to pick and choose, because imagine saying something like, I only like American food, and then trying Chinese or Indian food for the first time and being like, look, the Matrix, like the green slivers start to fall. And you're like, somebody lied to me.
Sure, yeah.
It would be a preposterous statement, but unexamined, it goes nowhere. So then you can say, I really like tasty food. Oh, no, now you're much closer to the truth about what you really like.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, if you have a lot of ideologies, it's in your own head. This is not stuff to say out loud. I'll say some of this out loud as an illustration, just to give yourself the freedom to think about things that you might not have been cool to admit. Here are some. Every single hippie, leftist, communist with a fucking sign that said, ban nuclear proliferation in the reactor space, the energy space in the 70s, had a series of very good points. We need to consider them. That one hurts me deeply because I think that missing out on the complete electrification and nuclearification of the US in the 1960s and 70s was like, we could have just never dealt with a fraction of the global warming that we have. It's one of those things that's not debatable. It's debatable, but you're going to lose the debate if you do it because all the evidence is on one side and none of it's on the other. However, the intentionality of those people is often very sound. I mean, like, is nuclear 100% safe? Fuck no. What happens if nuclear goes wrong in the wrongest way? Real bad stuff. Real bad stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about that stuff. Let's open our minds, not just push the hippies aside and be like they're insane, but they have some good points. On the other hand,
I know it's fiction, but that HBO Chernobyl, man, that series, was it a series? I forget. It was just one show, wasn't it? I haven't seen it in a while. I actually watched it multiple times. I already forgot. Was it a series? If you haven't seen HBO Chernobyl, man, that was so good. It was a mini series. Yeah. Okay. Man, that was I want to watch it again every time somebody talks about it.
And conservative individuals who say, there are only two genders. Do they have a point? Yeah, they have 98% of a point. They have most of the point. There are mostly just two genders. Is there space on the periphery for?
We're doing so well, and we're bringing up this gender stuff. We're grown ass men talking about. Are there more? Is that what you talk to your kids about? That there's 98% two genders. We're having a great conversation. I don't know, and then all of a sudden. You kind of slide in the global warming. I'm like, okay, I'll let that slide. And then now we're on to, well, there's mostly two genders. Then that's why you see I go with the young Knicks and the Andrew Wilsons, because after this, I need God. I need somebody who at least is in my realm of religion, because this is anti-God discussion we're having right now. There's more than two genders. What the hell are you talking about?
Some gender stuff that's not just one or two. Oh yeah, hell yeah. But if you say like these are hateful fucks, I have no idea where they're coming from. Like, stop. They're almost completely correct. The thing they're doing wrong is saying there are only two genders, where they could just say, it's mostly two genders. It's almost all two genders. You'd be like, yes. And the real thing they're doing wrong is making trans people feel derided.
Why do they do this? Is he a left? I guess he's a left. Why do they always? I am so tired of them. We're having a great conversation. All of a sudden, Transformers come up. Why? Why are we talking about them? Nancy Mace, I've done crashed out on her. It's not a right or left thing as far as like, I don't want to hear anything about these damn Transformers anymore.
And unwelcome and harmed psychologically and occasionally physically.
I don't do any violence, but as far as I don't care.
That's the real bad stuff we don't want. We don't have to throw away biological sex to help trans people go through a really tough time.
I don't have to help Transformers do anything. Where did that come from?
Well, there's lots of hateful pieces of shit around that have nothing but mean things to say to them. That's really the problem.
So what? Somebody could have something mean to say about my black ass. So what? As long as they're not violent, I don't care.
But you can agree with most conservatives on the fact that, yeah, like the gender thing is a real thing, and we have to contend with that. So
thank you. Thanks. Thank you so much for allowing us to be right on two genders. What happened to our country? What is this? Somebody from the 1950s would probably almost have a heart attack watching what's happening right now. Like, where are we going? Not much less going back to like the 19th century. They probably would be like, what the hell is happening?
Being able to steel man your opponent's positions and extract as much good from them as you can from even the most vile and evil people.
The vile and evil position that there's two genders.
I'm not in North Korea, a person that I think, like, if you give me a loaded pistol and he just materializes instantly, fuck, oh my God, I probably put the pistol down and start ripping his face open because he does not deserve to die quickly. But
what the hell? What is going on? What was that?
Pistol, and he just materialized.
What kind of beef do I have with Kim Jong-un?
Kim Jong-un in North Korea, a person that I think, like, if you give me a loaded pistol and he just materializes instantly, fuck, oh my God, I probably put the pistol down and start ripping his face open because he.
This dude is. Did somebody vouch for him? Ichak, is that you? To holler at me, bro? Who's vouching for this? I don't know this dude at all. This is unhinged. I don't know what happened. You can see he has a quiet rage, and I could feel that energy from the start where he's trying to be calm, but he has some type of anger and rage. What has Kim Jong-un done to you for that type of reaction? Can somebody explain that to me? Okay, Ichak was okay. I got you. Ichak's like, bro, I said he was good about fitness. I said, you're right. You are absolutely right, Ichak. You said, here's what Ichak said. I asked the question. I retract any kind of bad thing about Ichak said. What is it? What's his name? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Israel is sharp with fitness, diet, and neurology. That's what Ichak did not vouch for him on any type of political thing or anything. I don't. If you disagree with Kim Jong-un, I mean, obviously he's a dictator, then that's fine. But that response is unhinged. He never had any problems with me personally. I don't have any beef with him.
He does not deserve to die quickly. But
that conversation, man, that's a hard turn, man.
What are the good points to what he's done? Now, he has managed to have a very robust degree of state control. He has a government that does not suffer much from a dissolution of power and a question as to who really holds authority. That's good. If he wants something done, they're going to get it done, or they're going to try anyway and fuck up because it's communism. But that's good, right? We don't want total anarchy. Like, that's the opposite extreme, but that's also got its downside. What's the upside of total anarchy? Fucking raw freedom, bro. Get them titties out, girl. Let's fucking go. Light up the cigars and give your kid a cigar. It's dope shit. Anarchy's the most fun way to go, but it has its own downsides. So instead of being like, well, I'm an anarchist.
Yeah, that's fair. There's all pros and cons to everything. I'm just saying, it comes across as you got an anger issue, the way that you laid that out.
I'm a totalitarian, or I'm a this, I'm right, I'm left. Let's get together in a big circle and go, what can we pick from these ideologies that seems to make places where everyone in the world actually wants to live and seems to not make
everybody in the world wants to actually live? What are you talking about?
As many places that no one in the world hardly at all wants to live. If you open the borders between North and South Korea and you somehow disseminate freedom of information to where the North Koreans know what's going on in Seoul, bro, ain't nobody left in North Korea after 5 days.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Everybody has a different culture. Eastern philosophy is different than Western philosophy. Western philosophy is that of, and that's what has influenced me, is, basically off the foundation of the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. It's a rebellious nature. Our country was started by I don't even want to call it a rebellion, but a strong statement of separation. Because it wasn't that. It was just saying we have the right to separate. You go do you, we'll do us. We don't want any beef. That's what the Declaration of Independence was. That's the natural state of an American philosophy. So I don't know, man. This is crazy.
They're gone. No one actually wants to do that. Turkmenistan, which actually my dad is from. No offense, Turkmenistan.
Yeah, everybody doesn't believe in freedom like that. You take people who maybe are in a rice field or a rural area. I don't mean to be stereotypical. I will if I want to make jokes, but just some rural area in China. China's so big, most of it is. And they might not want to be in Western culture. And there's nothing wrong with that. We got different backgrounds, genetics, all that kind of stuff.
You guys are great. Turkmeni people are awesome. The Turkmeni leadership also needs the fucking gun to the head. Versus Sweden.
My God, bruh, what is going on?
Actually wants to do that. Turkmenistan, which actually my dad is from. No offense, Turkmenis, you guys are great. Turkmeni people are awesome. The
Turkmenistan, what is that? I don't even know where that is.
The leadership also needs the fucking gun to the head. Versus Sweden, who's debating?
Oh, is that the
There
new
weren't very many
name?
people trying to escape from West Germany into
Oh,
East
that's
Germany.
just the
And
new
Like, okay, so were there any? That's actually a question for
I'm
me.
sure the only reason why I just said there were none is I didn't say there were none because I'm sure there was somebody with like a family
Okay, I'm ignorant. I don't know what Turkmenistan is.
member or somebody, so I'm not gonna. I'll always hedge because I'm
Right, no,
traumatized,
it's a
but-
great hedge. And I'm not saying there were zero, but I'm actually asking the question of maybe there were zero,
Mhm.
which doesn't make your point any less well received. 500 people over the course of 50 years is functionally fucking zero when the populations are 50 million each. But
Okay, I'm gonna go to a different one. Not that that was a bad conversation, but I'm just ready to move on. See what else is going on with. Let me go to Pierce. These are kind of the go-to ones, and actually, let me go to Andrew Wilson. I haven't seen what he's doing in a minute. What's he been up to? I should search the Crucible. See what's up with the Crucible. Who's he had on? He's been on. Was he in person here? Oh, that's 3 months ago. He's been doing the video conferencing with the whatever podcast. Wait. Oh, is he just doing all lives? Is that where it is? Wait, where are his streams at? Does he pull his streams? I'm on his videos. That's the latest. I mean, it doesn't have to be new, but I'm just curious what he's up to. Wow. Is he on Rumble more then? I always see that he's streaming. Like he's always live when I see it. But I don't see any updated. He's probably on Rumble because he's kind of too hardcore for. Let me see. There's no videos on. I don't see the Rumble. Why do I not see videos on here? He must pull his lives. I know he gets heavy super chats. So maybe he's just like all super chat. Because that's the old debate with Dave Smith. Okay. See, I kind of like Pierce because Pierce is on topic with the debates. I mean, the Pierce Morgan show is just crazy. It's just really good. Because you've got, I mean, he just had Ashley St. Clair on there. I mean, he has so many people. He's always relevant. And they're all, oh, yeah, I didn't see this. Yeah, let's do this, Andrew Wilson, best of both worlds. Andrew Wilson on with debate. Let's go.
I would say let's try and keep things civilized, but that's entirely down to you.
Leftists are just pissed for no good reason. Musk is collecting all these people's information. It's like unelected officials at the DMV are collecting my information.
Elon Musk is definitionally an unelected bureaucrat, cutting whatever he decides is necessary.
He hasn't cut anything. What did they cut?
I don't think that DOGE even exists. I don't think they have the legal capacity to even do what Trump wants them to do. Trump was already found to have had people who were working with him collude with Russia. Roger Stone did it, but he was pardoned by Donald Trump, the same way Donald Trump pardoned all 1,600 J6 offenders.
Biden pardons the whole crime family, but that's fine.
You had 8 years to investigate it. They had nothing.
Here's the logic for you. As long as bad things are done via the process of law, that's fine.
I don't want to leave us without getting to the really contentious story of the week.
These two haven't debated in
It's
a
been
while.
another whirlwind week in President Trump's USA, from outshining Taylor Swift to banning plastic straws and bringing Doge's Elon Musk to the Oval Office. Somewhat overlooked in the blizzard was Trump's order for a new task force on anti-Christian bias and the launch of a White House faith office led by televangelist Paula Michelle White-Cain.
The longer the dance, the more bees she gets aroused. So Queen Bee starts going into this frenzy.
Oh man, I was working on a video. I never released it on this woman here. What's her name? Is it White? I forgot her name. It begins with a P, I think.
And she starts going around.
Oh, this woman is crazy, man. I gotta bring this back. This woman is crazy. Man, I don't know what happens in this debate, but Dusty has some ammo there. There's no way Andrew Wilson's going to defend this woman. No way.
Launch of a White House faith office led by televangelist Paula Michelle White-Cain.
Paula White.
The longer the dance, the more bees she gets aroused. So Queen Bee starts going into this frenzy, and she starts going around and around and around. And she goes into vibrations until all the bees get activated, and all the bees start going forth. And she leads the way by stirring something up. Angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now.
You can do with some of that energy. Well, Trump says that God saved him to save America, and many supporters are fully on board with making America holy again. But critics say it's a divisive move that could bulldoze the constitutional separation of church and state. Here to debate this and much more, two controversial commentators whose views of this world, and indeed the next, couldn't be more different. Destiny is an outspoken liberal and atheist who said that religion is trash and a substitute for human thought. Andrew Wilson is a fiercely committed conservative.
Atheism is a religion.
The Crucible debate channel, who once said this about facing destiny.
You and Destiny on whatever podcast together. Been watching some older debates with you and him. Love watching you wipe the floor with them. Keep up the amazing work you do. I doubt it. I doubt there'll ever be another debate between myself and Destiny, and here's why. One, I'm blacklisted. He actually made a blacklist and put me on the blacklist. So even if he says, well, now you're off the blacklist, I see no reason why I should engage with him.
Well, here you are. You're both together again to debate. I'm personally thrilled that the reality has come to this point. So welcome to both of you. I would say let's try and keep things civilized, but that's entirely down to you. It's your debate. I'll be in the middle of it. And hopefully we'll try and get through some complex issues.
Andrew's actually always civilized. I mean, he'll only go to ad hom if they go to ad. Andrew always matches the energy of who he's going up against.
In a constructive and interesting way. So welcome, anyway, to both of you. Let me start. Destiny, I mean, this whole idea of Donald Trump, making America holy again. What is your response to that?
I feel like we have a lot of issues right now in this country. I don't know if our president being a spiritual leader is one of them. There have been things that I've said about religion, mainly in regards to philosophy and how you reconcile like religion with some philosophical positions. But I do think that right now there's kind of a crisis of meaning in the United States. I think for a lot of people, religion can serve as a good foundation of meaning. However, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be the guy to, I guess, usher in that era of religiosity in the United States, at least not for any wholly religious person that I know that would, look at a person and think, oh, this is like a spiritual leader that I would want.
Andrew, I would have kind of agreed with that, having known Trump a long time and never seen him as a particularly religious guy.
Destiny's not too familiar with her. He would have went way harder if he was.
I got to say, since he got shot, he sounds a very different guy about God, about religion. I've spoken to him myself several times. I mean, including once a week after.
Before he does that, the stuff that, so she, at one point, with her ministry, she was able to buy a $900,000 mansion, private jet, massive payouts to family members, and a $5 million salary.
He got shot, where he said, God must have had a plan for me. He must have saved me for a reason. He said, there can be no other explanation for why I came so close to being killed, but miraculously escaped. I do think he feels that really quite deeply.
Yeah, there's no atheist in foxholes, as the saying goes, right? So a near-death experience often will bring people closer to the divine. This is a very common thing. Doesn't surprise me that Trump very narrowly, for a turn of his head, is still alive. I'm sure that he could definitely attribute that to divine intervention. And I'm sure even Destiny would understand why a person would do that. He's right about the fact that we do have a crisis of meaning. But he also is right, and I can concede on this point, that an office of faith with a chick speaking in tongues is cringe. And the most divisive thing on planet Earth is religion. It's the most divisive thing when it comes to, it's even more divisive than relationships. It's more divisive.
Oh, of course. There's many wars have been fought over that.
Than sex. It's more divisive than anything is the topic of religion itself. America is already very divided on religiosity, with a traditional camp and a non-traditional camp. I don't actually think that this was a great move for him to put in this office of faith, not because I do like the fact that it does signal that it's perfectly acceptable to rule through faith. I think that that's perfectly acceptable. However, I think strategically it wasn't particularly wise, as it opened up a dialogue now between the traditionalists, who were really Trump's kind of staunch supporters, saying, what the hell are you?
Well, then I don't agree with Andrew there, because then it's not a good idea. Andrew's saying it's only a good idea if it's somebody who, and I understand why he's saying that. He says it's okay to lead through faith from the executive branch. I think that's absolutely, the executive branch doesn't make laws. I don't think he would agree legally, though. I'd have to ask him on that. Maybe in theory he would. I think young Nick would say throughout everything, because that's what you could argue that's what the tiny hats do, or Muslims or whatever. All these other religions try to do it. But let's just talk about, I agree completely. The executive branch can lead however they want to. They're not making law. They can lead through their faith. Joe Biden said he was Catholic, and effectively, I did a commentary on it. Effectively, he was not. He acted like he was another religion, basically. But I don't. If you don't like it because he made bad choices, then to me, fundamentally, you don't like it. Is that fair? I just want to make sure if my take is fair.
Woman, Paula, in any way or shape, form, or capacity representing Christianity on the national stage.
Yeah, she's a joke. So you don't agree then?
Rule through faith. I think.
So he says it's good that he said it's okay to rule through faith. I agree with that.
I actually think that this was a great move for him to put in this office of faith, not because I do like the fact that it does signal that it's perfectly acceptable to rule through faith.
You don't need the office to do that, though. So I don't agree with that. You can say that you don't need the office. The office was there in the past, and then we had faithless people. Then Trump is trying to bring it back, but it's not good.
I think that that's perfectly acceptable. However, I think strategically it wasn't particularly wise, as it opened up a dialogue now between the
Okay, so he's saying that the office wasn't strategically wise, or was the choice not wise?
Traditionalists, who were really Trump's kind of staunch supporters, saying, what the hell are you doing here? We don't want this woman, Paula, in any way or shape, form, or capacity representing Christianity on the national stage.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny, some people see MAGA Christian nationalism as racist. Time magazine said the toxic blend of ethno-religious identity politics was reflected in the prayers and religious symbols participants carried at the US Capitol insurrection on January the 6th, 2021, and it's become central to the trajectory of the contemporary MAGA Republican Party. Would you agree with that? Piers Morgan Uncensored is now proudly independent, if you like, with an A+ rating, 655.
I think that progressives especially have this tendency to over exaggerate. I mean, we were all on the internet when people were hunting every single person who made the OK symbol and saying that they were like some kind of closet Nazi or whatever during the Rittenhouse era. So I mean, there are going to be racist people everywhere, but if you want to attack MAGA and you want to do it through the lens of their racist white supremacists or whatever, I mean, most people, I mean, obviously MAGA is not going to care for a variety of reasons, and they shouldn't. And even most people that are kind of like looking from the center or even from the center left are going to be like, well, I don't really know if I feel this way. Like MAGA kind of seems more colorful than they even have been in the past in terms of conservative movements. You can just look online and see that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those types of attacks towards that, I guess, ideology, towards that camp.
You're sounding very reasonable today, Destiny. You're right.
Yeah, he actually is. He's an establishment guy. That's how they always. Amy Klobuchar. I mean, she's wackadoo now, but he's trying to be that new Mitt Romney, Amy Klobuchar. And no, he would be strongly disagree with me, but that is where he's at. All his takes match theirs.
I'm a very reasonable person, Piers.
Well, that is, I mean, he is right. There are better avenues for which to attack the MAGA movement that would actually be more effective for progressives.
Yep.
Them utilizing this type of attack actually didn't do them very much in the way of good in this last election cycle. And you saw this from large progressive commentators, and this is all they did. Hassan Piker, among many others in the political commentary world, Bosch, other guys like this, they hyper focus on the racial dynamic issues, and Destiny is right. MAGA doesn't care. And most of the supporters of
I don't know if Hassan Piker focused on the race. He does talk about it, and I obviously disagree with him strongly on the race stuff and the transformers stuff. But I think he focused more on the Middle East, Hassan Piker at least, which I do agree with him on.
Trump don't care, and most Republicans at this point don't care because it's so overused. that essentially, if you overuse a phrase like this or these kinds of talking points too much, their effectiveness just basically gets destroyed.
So let's move from making America holy again to making America healthy again. I mean, Destiny, he's a divisive character. I've got to say about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I'd heard all the stuff about him. So the first time I interviewed him, I was quite like combative with him. And I was pretty charmed by him and quite impressed by him, I've got to say. And I've interviewed him 4 or 5 times since. And I really don't think we've got the devil here at the head of the health service. I think we've got a guy who has a very curious mind, constantly asking questions, which probably need to be asked about the nation's health. He's also a fine figure of a guy for 70 who seems to practice what he preaches. Are you in favor or against him?
Absolutely against him. I think that there's this talking strategy that people like RFK do that drives me insane. And apparently it works for people like you, where somebody will say something that sounds on its face reasonable, but if you think about it for like 2 seconds, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like the idea of well, we need to be examining the safety of these pharmaceuticals. Like we need to look at the data. And it's like, well, yeah, of course. How do you think these things get passed? Or what do you think all the research is for? Like people like RFK will just say these things that sound good. Like, shouldn't we be doing research on long-term outcomes of, XYZ drug? And it's like, yeah, we should be. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we do that. Of course we do. The FDA has a pretty good track record, all considered.
Andrew?
Then what's the problem? I don't understand. If we're already doing that, then what's the problem? I hate when Destiny does that. He wants to say, no, I'm not for RFK, and then he didn't even make a point against RFK.
By him, I've got to say. And I've interviewed him 4 or 5 times since, and I really don't think we've got the devil here at the head of the health service. I think we've got a guy who has a very curious mind, constantly asking questions, which probably need to be asked about the nation's health. He's also a fine figure of a guy for 70 who seems to practice what he preaches. Are you in favor or against him?
Absolutely against him.
Okay, so let's hear why he's against him.
I think that there's this talking strategy that people like RFK do that drives me insane. And apparently it works for people like you, where somebody will say something that sounds on its face reasonable, but if you think about it for like 2 seconds, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like the idea of well, we need to be examining the safety of these pharmaceuticals. Like we need to look at the data. And it's like, well, yeah, of course. How do you think these things get passed? Or what do you think all the research is for? But
that didn't happen in the pandemic, and Destiny was for the pandemic injections. It was impossible for it to have happened during the pandemic.
People like RFK.
So no, this is just flat out nonsense from Destiny. He's basically, his only thing is saying RFK's dumb because he's saying, let's do something that's already being done. That's your strong stance against him. And when you go back to the most important time it's ever been done, ever in the history of the country, it wasn't a long-term study. So you sound horrible. That's not a good stance.
To say these things that sound good. Like, shouldn't we be doing research on long-term outcomes of, XYZ drug? And it's like, yeah, we should be. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we do that. Of course we do. The FDA has a pretty good track record, all considered.
Andrew?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that Kennedy's as fine a choice as anybody. It's not like these positions have been filled by people in the past who are incredible at them. Not even on the progressive side, often moving into trans issues, trans healthcare, which was a big loser for progressives. Mm-hmm. I think ultimately, I don't see any problem with this guy getting in there. I don't think he's going to do anything harmful, and I don't really see any problem with him moving into these various agencies and trying to do various reforms. I don't even actually see why progressives would be upset by that. So Destiny might say, well, there's things that he says that are already being done. So he's going to go in and be somewhat redundant. But it's like, if you already like those systems.
Well, it's not redundant because it's going to be somebody else leading them in the way they want them led. That's not redundant.
Going into their systems, I don't even see why that would be a problem.
Right. I mean, and Destiny, what I would say is that it always strikes me, if you ever see pictures from, say, Times Square or Trafalgar Square in London or Sydney or whatever it may be from the 20s, right?
They're skinny.
What's the one thing we all notice immediately if you think about it?
They're not fat.
There's no fat people.
Black and white?
Well, there's no fat people. Right? They just didn't seem to exist. Literally, they barely existed because people were far more mobile. Mm-hmm. They had far better diets to a large degree. And none of the processed crap had come into to ruin their lives. None of the sort of, television, internet and stuff, which makes people sit around all day. So very different way of living. And it really strikes me, if you look at those pictures today to then, the world, particularly in the sort of developed world, like America, like large swathes of Europe, we've just got very fat and unhealthy. And if all that he achieves in his term as health secretary is getting Americans to really think about that more, wouldn't that be a good thing?
I mean, I feel like he can luck his way into a couple of okay positions, but the problem is going to be what the focus is. And the problem is that the focus in some ways, I think, is kind of contrary to whatever MAGA believes in, although it's hard to know at any point in time what MAGA believes in. But for instance, I think that probably the number one thing that you could do to increase the overall health of Americans would be to bring down our average weight. And the best way to do that probably would be to find ways to restrict the ultra processed foods, the stuff that's like super high in sugar, whether that's through additional labeling or whether that's through taxes on ultra processed food or sugar. Either of those, I think, would be tremendously in a good direction. However, both of those things are an increase in taxes and an increase in bureaucracy. I don't know if MAGA is in favor of either of those things. If that was the sole focus of RFK, I would be more okay with it.
All I need from the HHS and the NIH is information. I don't need them to do any taxation. I don't need any subsidies. You're just messing up the market. I just need you to do studies and give information. Other than that, I don't know what do I need you for. So they're taking the information, the studies, and then they're going to try to do action based off that. I do not support that at all.
But it's like this obsession with like the fluoride in the water and red dye number 3 and the heavy metal microplastic.
Yeah, that is a healthy. The obsession is healthy with. Why do we need the dye? Is the dye healthy for us? Is it a problem for us? Do we really need it? RFK goes in and says, hey, I have some questions on it. Do your own studies. Now, that's long-term stuff. These studies aren't going to be done. I mean, typically, they're like 3 to 5 years is my understanding, some of these studies. So they won't be done by the time he'll be out of office by the time they're done, but setting it up for the next, hopefully, if you're an RFK fan, to the next transition, which would be, I don't know, it'd probably, to me, either be Don Jr. or JD Vance. So take that, leave it. You might like it, you might not, but that looks like where we're going.
Plastics in our ball sacks and everything else. And these things are very like, they're worth looking at, but they're on the peripheral, they're on the edge.
What if he's right? I mean, the reason I say what if he's right is
Destiny's struggling here.
I remember through COVID, for example, all sorts of...
He's usually much better. I don't know what's going on.
Definitive statements from doctors and scientists, which often turned out to be complete baloney. You know, what if he's actually right about this stuff?
He can be right. So first of all, most of the statements that were said by the people on the other side were completely and totally incorrect relating to COVID and vaccines. There were no mass deaths. There were no mass injuries, vaccine injuries. There were no microchips planted in us. There were no permanent vaccine passports. There still isn't any proof that it was created in a laboratory. Like all of those things.
Wow, he's still holding on to that one.
Not being correct.
Wow.
But insofar as him being right, I'm saying that
this is from 4 days ago or 2 days. When was this? This is from 2 days ago. He's still holding on to the lab theory. Wow.
Like it might be the case that microplastics or red dye number, whatever, could be bad for us or could even be carcinogenic, maybe. But these are like 2%, 3%.
I should say anti-lab theory.
Issues. Like 80% is if you could bring people's weight down on average by helping our diets, it would be so much more impactful. And I don't see how you do that without increasing the bureaucracy because you have to be anti-capitalist a little bit. You've got to start.
Wait, what? How does increasing the bureaucracy get the weight down? I don't agree with that at all.
Taxing certain things, you've got to target certain types of foods in order to change people's food consumption habits.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew,
that's where he goes straight to, and I guess, I said I like young Nick and he's for authority too, but I guess I like him from the standpoint, if somebody is for authority, it's that mentality, but I am not for authority. I'm a grown ass man. The government shouldn't be saying you can't have this, you can have that. The government should be providing the information.
It's a fine line, isn't it, between being relentlessly critical of health institutions and accepted norms and science and so on, and getting to a place where, if you're not careful, public confidence in all of those bodies collapses, and then you start to have serious health issues.
Yeah, that's true. And this is part of the polarization in the United States. Destiny brings up this point. He says, well, these are kind of tangential issues, microplastics, things like this. The truth is, if we have states that have done restrictions on things like this, they've restricted sugars, they've restricted some processed foods. It does very little to mitigate the problem. I'm reminded of an article I read not too long ago about Japan, where the Japanese don't have the same epidemic when it comes to obesity that we have here. The gal who was there doing the article made a great point. She said she thought the kids there were trolling when they said their favorite food was broccoli, celery, things like this. But when it was investigated, it turns out they were taught that those are the good foods to eat and nothing else is the good food to eat. So in other words, there's national propaganda around the idea of health and things like this. Instead of moving towards restrictions, like
I don't know how I feel about the propaganda. I don't need that. I don't need the propaganda from the government here. We just need the facts.
Destiny's proposing, I would move more towards national propaganda, but progressives are very wary about moving towards propaganda. I don't know why, even though now propaganda itself has a negative connotation. I'm just saying the word propaganda because people understand what it means, right? Like a national campaign for something like that.
No, I don't need that. I do not support that.
This could be very effective the same way they do it there. What's not effective though is restrictions. That doesn't seem to do very much. At least it has not so far.
I also think parental responsibility.
No, I like things like being forced to put the calories on your menu, that type of stuff. I know you can't do it everywhere, but it does help. I think it's more information.
Massively reinforced, just generally, right? It's all very well blaming.
Well, that would be part of a national campaign, though. In order to do that,
I agree. But you do actually, like when I see some of the food that parents give their kids. Not just in America, but we have it in the UK as well. We've got a massive obesity problem here. And it's like, where's the parental responsibility?
There's nothing like going on the, treadmill and running or walking for a while and you say, oh, I burned 400 calories. Then you go to McDonald's and you see Big Mac is, I don't know what it is, like 600, that wiped out right there. Your work wiped out in 3 seconds for a nasty ass, burger.
To stop shoving horrible.
Yeah, but then we have to look at other things progressives don't want to look at, like, alternative family units, single motherhood, the intact family, things like this, which all feed into the idea of how kids are even nourished at home. Like these are all interconnected things.
Education.
And it's not so fun then if you're running a national campaign to say, father should stay in the home. That's good for the family. That's good for the kids' nourishment. Things like this. You know what I mean?
That's not a national campaign, though. If you do a study and it comes up with that, not that I would necessarily believe it or not, but I obviously believe that idea. But these studies they're kind of like polling. You can pay for a study to say whatever you want, basically. So, but that's not really propaganda. That's not really propaganda to me. I think if you say we did a study, here it is. It's online. Look through it however you want, and it came up and it found out. 2-parent households, no divorce or whatever. We got 2 parents in the household that kids turned out this way or something like that.
It suddenly
has to be a blind control study, I would say.
That's why they tend to steer away from that type of public discourse, at least at the governmental level, even though for the health of the nation, probably would be quite good.
So Destiny, your sheer progressiveness is going to stop any solution being achieved.
I'm a deeply unpopular person with a variety of people. I have no problems talking about attacking a particular problem from a multitude of angles. I think that you can talk about what goes on in the household as well. However, I think that the culture, writ large and what's available is also a really challenging thing to deal with. If you've had a kid and that kid is going to school, the thing that makes that kid want something more than anything else isn't just something being available. It isn't just, someone on the internet offering it. It's when other classmates have that thing. As soon as you start hearing, hey, Bob or Jane, their parents let them do that, or they have this thing at school. Well, now all of a sudden you're competing against all of the other kids in class. And then these types of pressures when your kid is outside of your supervision are almost impossible to overcome. One thing that is kind of irritating, I guess, is I feel like there was a big push to have kids eating healthier in schools a while ago, but everybody made fun of her for it. It was led by Michelle Obama when it came to making healthier foods. In
she was right.
I had no problem with it. Didn't hear any problem with that for me.
I agree.
Yeah, and it seems like Republicans lit her up like crazy for that. And I don't know. I think that we can talk about healthier food in the household. We can talk about healthier food at schools. Like I think that everybody should. I don't
know if this happened under Michelle Obama, but I don't like the federal government tying in federal support. I agree with Trump in taking away the Department of Education. I don't agree with the federal government getting involved in, you have to teach this, or you have to, even if it's healthy foods, you have to have healthy foods to get this money. No. That's up to the local level. But in general, Michelle Obama's push to be healthy, I fully support it.
Should be on board with it because things like obesity, being overweight, is one of the worst things that you can do for your health.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was out in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago, and they've got a national campaign to get people out doing exercise 3 times a week. And they've got a very young population, like 70% are under 35. And it's been very popular, and as a result, more and more young people in Saudi are playing sport, for example, than were ever playing before. And that
we
is
also
a
have physical education standards here, Piers. We have physical education standards set down by the government here for years, and those were rolled back due to the idea of fat shaming, due to the idea of my kids can't do this,
which is all bullshit.
Et cetera.
I agree.
It's all bullshit. And the thing is like that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about national campaigns for this. We can bring in exercise standards. We can bring in enforcement mechanisms for those standards starting at a young age. Destiny makes a good point. It is valid that if you're in school and you're a kid and the other kids have donuts, you're probably going to want a donut. You don't want to eat your broccoli, right? But there's an aspect of social shame that happens with patriotism and aspects of social campaigns and culture that can be actually done from the top down that we see in other nations.
Man, Destiny, obviously not in a vitriolic way, but he's getting destroyed here.
Including what you're talking about right now. Just something as basic as, okay, physical education. Now we're going to actually start taking it seriously.
All the legitimate ideas in this debate are coming from Andrew Wilson. Destiny's provided nothing of substance. We're 20 minutes in, and if I never knew who Destiny was, I'd like, who is this clown?
Hours of it a day instead of just the 30 or 40 minutes of you throw dodgeball at each other, right? I think that these are very valid things that we should look at.
Yeah, I agree. Let's turn to feminism. So Donald Trump has been lauded as the great new feminist of the United States. This comes from his executive order banning trans athletes in women's sport. Let's take a look at him, surrounded by grateful women and girls as he did this.
No, that's not a feminist stance.
If you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on.
No, there's nothing a politician likes more than a photo op. It's a good one. Don't get me wrong. It's a good one.
Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen a finer feminist, Destiny.
I mean, this is like classic Republicans. Like Donald Trump tweets out at 4 a.m. that he's going to make the sun shine, and then at 6 a.m. the sun comes up and everybody worships him for it. I'm pretty sure, didn't the NCAA already roll back a lot of the trans participation in sports in the United States? And then I feel like we've already seen like the Olympic make moves against it. Like we've already seen in your country, in the United States, across the world, people have kind of like rolled back a little bit on a lot of the trans youth, especially the medication stuff.
Yeah, but you said the phrase there. When you say it's been a little bit and it's been piecemeal, sport by sport and age groups and so on. What Trump has done with one sweep of his pen is say no more of it at all, right? I
actually still don't agree with it. The federal government shouldn't be involved. Why is the federal government involved? If I'm for the federal government being involved to eliminate it, then the federal government can be involved in forcing it. If this is no better than what we had before under Biden. Yeah, I agree with Trump's order, and I don't have a problem with him doing it, but it doesn't solve anything. We're still in the place where the federal government is tipping the scales on this stuff, and there's no such thing as I don't like Title IX. I don't like this. You let the market decide the fate of women's sports, the fate of transformers, whether they transform and who they play with or whatever. Let the market decide on the state or lower level.
Will be no more trans athletes in women's sport, period. Now, I personally think this is absolutely the right thing to do. I think it's become the new doping, where people who have an unfair advantage have been, beating women, removing women from women's teams and saying
women are the number one people who want it. I mean, they're the ones that voted for women, vastly voted for Kamala. I think 52% or something. I mean, I guess it wasn't a huge margin. I haven't looked that up, but recently, but women are largely the people who want it.
Say the Olympics and so on, actually beating up women as we saw in the Paris Olympics, where somebody reportedly banned from the World Championships with male chromosomes literally beat up one female opponent.
I don't condone biological men competing with women, but that's what they decided to do. I mean, I have other things to concern myself with. I don't understand why that's even a federal issue.
And so badly, she quit after 40 seconds in the ring. So I do think this is a really important thing. Do you agree with him?
I don't think this is a very important thing. I don't even know if he can enforce this through executive order. Like, I don't know if this is going to be like some kind of Title IX challenge or whatever. I don't know what the courts are doing with this right now. It's just, I just don't think this is very relevant in the overall scheme of U.S. or world politics right now. I mean, people don't want women competing with trans women, I especially at the college level and beyond. I don't really have a problem with that. I never really had a problem with that. I don't know if these two groups of people should be competing with each other. This is like a blip on the grand scale of things, I think.
You know what's interesting, Andrew? I've talked to quite a few on the left since the election. They've moved from the position before the election. I'm not saying Destiny was one of them. I can't remember, and you can clarify if you want. Destiny,
no. He's
a lot of them are like
Destiny's been pretty. The take he has here is pretty solid. What did he get into the beef with Keffels about? Keffels is a famous transformer. I haven't seen anything from Keffels in a long time. I'm actually, believe it or not, Keffels is a really good trash talker. I'm actually not like anti-Keffels. Really interesting streams, even though obviously we're not the same as far as beliefs. What happened to Keffels? Is Keffels still? I haven't seen a post from Keffels since July of 2024. It's been a good run. I laughed with you all, cried with you all. We raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity. Thank you for all the memories and giving me a platform to help others. It's time for me to move on with my life until we meet again. Wow. And that was very harsh against Keffels when Keffels, I don't know his real name, but Keffels kind of got his army to go after Destiny. I think that's why Destiny got removed from Twitch. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to bring up ChatGPT, see if I can get a answer on that. Why did Destiny get banned from Twitch? So I'm not going to do the voice part because it just takes a little bit of a delay. But Twitch ban March 2022. He was banned for hateful conduct. While Twitch did not publicly state what the problem was, speculation suggests it was due to his comments on transformer issues and debates with banned individuals. In October of 2024, Destiny shared a clip from a previous live stream indicating that his characterization of online transformer activists as inbred led to his permanent ban. After his ban, he moved to Kick. Is he still on Kick? However, in July, he was banned from Kick too. He was banned from Kick, which I don't support, but I forgot about that. I do remember it now. There was some debate about it. I'm not on Kick a lot, so I just hadn't followed it. So he's banned on Kick for hate speech following his comments about the Trump rally. Oh, yeah, that's what that was about. Yeah, his comments were unsavory on that, but obviously I do not support him getting banned over that. That's for sure. His comments were completely legal. I do not support that at all. That is terrible by Kick. That is an awful decision. Is he still banned from Kick? So they didn't even mention Keffels. Was the Twitch ban over Keffels? Why didn't it? It was over Keffels. So Keffels, what is his real name? Well, it doesn't matter. Keffels got him banned, and then Keffels left. It looked like, okay, here's the other stuff about Keffels. I'm just a little bit late. This was July of last year. Keffels said, live streaming destroyed my mental health. I live with PTSD from it. Let me actually bring it up if I'm going to just read it. Let me bring it up on the screen. I am late on this. Keffels has had some really good streams. So Keffels said, live streaming destroyed my mental health. I live with PTSD from it. constantly afraid of swatting attempts, constant panic attacks, and dealing with people even in leftist spaces like this person, I don't know who that is, who fantasized. But see, Keffels got in the ring, and Keffels was one of the biggest trash talkers out there. Keffels was really at the core. Keffels was just a gaming dude who talked trash, just like we gamed with, back in the day. Well, what am I? How old am I now? I'm 47, right? Forgot. I'm 47, and over 20 years ago, I was a gamer talking trash. The only thing is nowadays that maybe it's the plastics that we're talking about earlier with Destiny and RFK. I don't know what it is, but these guys that were gamers have turned into whatever they've become. But he's just a gaming trash talking dude. So, bruh, if you're gonna talk trash, then yeah, people are gonna talk trash back to you. That's just the way it works. And I do believe that live streaming destroyed Keffel's mental health, and Keffel's made some money and doesn't need it anymore, is my impression. Made money off of different type of things, was a really good streamer, actually. I live with PTSD, huh? Says I can't do it anymore. I have friends, loved ones, a social life, and I'm thriving in my life offline. Don't feel bad for me. Trust me, I do not. I don't wish anything bad on Keffels, but I don't feel bad for them at all. Leaving everything behind was a really difficult decision, but one I ultimately made because I love myself and want to experience a life that's worth living. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the streaming world is not better because Keffel's gone. Now, I actually had interactions with Keffels. Keffels is quick to block people. Never. Oh, actually, Keffels did block me, and then for some reason unblocked me. But it wasn't DMs. It was just like in comments and stuff. I was like, I'm not against you. We have different views, but I'm not against you. And the only thing I really was very harsh on Keffels for was trying to get Destiny banned. But I understand it's warfare. We're in informational warfare. I keep thinking back to this picture my dad took of my mom holding me while I was recovering from some type of surgery. This is what they want you to take from young Transformers. Keffels was a good internet person, so I had no idea that was a sidetrack. I had no idea Keffels was out the game. I was like, I haven't heard from Keffels in a minute. I was like, what happened to Keffels? If you don't know Keffels, the channel is kind of like a trans Destiny, to be honest with you. Just didn't speak as much, as fast, I should say. I don't go on Twitch, so I just saw Keffels on here. No, I didn't subscribe to Keffels on this channel. This video was hard. I remember when this video blew up. I don't know this dude, but this dude did this video with Keffels looking like a dude on the cover. Man, that was crazy. TYT correction, Keffels is a fraud. Wow, then they turned on Keffels. I didn't know that. Chronicles of Keffels, an anomaly exposed. What happened? Everybody turned on Keffels. Wow. Let's see here. This is 2 years ago, a year ago. Yep. No videos. Well, that everybody who retires or whatever comes back is just, if you don't need the money or whatever, I don't know. BreadTube is toast. The end of BreadTube. Dang, that's a 9-hour live? Jeez. Dang, he lost weight in this one.
Hello, everyone.
What?
About 3 months ago, I made a video essay about the rise and fall of the Young Turks. It was a really big undertaking. It ran about 2 hours long, but there were multiple parts in the video that made it so YouTube age restricted it, limiting the access that it had to the algorithm and significantly limiting the audience, despite how important.
Damn, he must have lost like 50 pounds. He looked skinny. Damn. I don't know if he was on that. Oh.
Is, given the fact that it is arguably to this day the most well-documented history of the Young Turks online. So I have taken the liberty of censoring out the parts that I think got it age restricted, and I'm going to be re-uploading it. If you want to watch the full uncensored version on my YouTube channel, I'm going to keep it up and you can find a link in the description. But I think that this was important enough to re-upload as a censored version. I hope that you all enjoy. I know that I really enjoyed going down memory lane and putting this together so that people could see the rise of one of the biggest progressive media empires and their tragic fall from grace. Also, it would mean a lot to me personally if you'd like the video and leave a comment. Making sure that people see this video, I think, is very important, given the fact that there have been so many people who...
I always talk about this live. Just some random weekend, I'm watching the Keffels channel. It's probably obviously over a year ago. And it was Keffels and Shoe on Head. And it's one of my favorite live streams ever, man. It was a really good stream. They're really talented. Shoe on Head is great too. I don't know why. Shoe on Head, you can unblock me. I don't understand why you're so quick to block me, but whatever.
Become progressives and leftists who are completely unaware of the history that exists in these spaces online. So without further ado, I really hope that you enjoy this video.
I'm blocked on X by half these people. Keffels had me blocked at one point, then I don't know what happened, unblocked me. And the Casparian has me blocked. I'm not even disrespectful to these people. Shoe and Head has me blocked. I'm a big fan. Anomaly has me blocked. Maybe it's me. I'll fully own it. I'll fully own it. If every person out there has got you blocked, then it's you.
I know I enjoy putting it together.
They know there's a difference between gender and sex. They know that it is very possible for someone to be born a biological male or a biological female, but in terms of gender, identify differently as a male or non-binary, but they still have the biological capacity, the physical capacity to get pregnant. So that's why the language, the rhetoric is inclusive to include those people. It is not a big deal, but they make it a big deal.
We can't talk about the left without Transformers. Like, that's literally what they're about. It's just every time I go to a leftist channel, I swear to you, every time I go to a look, I'm here at Keffels. I just did this live. I didn't even know what was going on. We're 2 minutes into the video. We're talking about Transformers. Well, obviously Keffels is a Transformer, but
they manufacture it into a big deal because that's all Republicans are. That's all they have. This is all they do. Endless bad faith arguments meant to fearmonger and direct hatred and fear toward other Americans, typically powerless Americans.
So this is 1 year ago, and this is Anna destroying her own argument, like directly. There's not even like a vague analogy here. It's not even like, oh, well, this thing kind of disagrees. She's just time traveling to disagree with herself. She was actually reacting to herself in the future.
I don't do enough Voss reactions.
9 months from then.
He cracks me up, man. Voss is funny as hell, man. Just the way he phrases, not even like laughing at him, just the way he phrases stuff. Like, he's very good with his verbiage. It's just the way he's just funny to me. This is Brianna Joy Gray.
Turk's co-host Anna Kasparian doubled down on her position that women should not be referred to as birthing persons or persons with uteruses. The progressive media host laughed at
Well, that's not a contradiction.
Criticism she received from friend of the show, Elia Muellerin, regarding comments she made last month calling transgender inclusive language degrading.
She is so she blocked me too. Every single person that you find out here blocked me, man. And I know there's a ton of other ones that want to as well. That haven't.
To women. Kasparian responded to Olay saying, laughing out loud, the meltdown.
That's her right there. Olayum, whatever, Orlin, or Lewin, or whatever. I think she's a lawyer or something.
Downs over wanting to be referred to as a woman rather than a birthing person is pretty wild. Never apologize for that, especially as a biological woman who has had a effing lifetime of being told I'm less than.
Again, this is make-believe. Absolute make-believe. And like, there's
the surfs.
So much up shit going on right now. Can we be
that surfs with Tim Pool was a great episode. That was a really good episode. Even though I don't know who I agree with or not, but that was a good episode.
Real about that? There's so much up stuff, especially towards trans people, especially towards queer people.
I honestly do think that this is TYT making a distinct push to start appealing more towards the right. Why do I think this is happening? Well, Look at the state of the internet culture.
Yeah.
It's distinctively more right-leaning.
That's true, but I still didn't hear a contradiction from her.
But in my position, member of the media, member of the left, the progressive left, being kind of spokespeople for the progressive left in an online media space, I just think we have a greater responsibility. And the assertion that someone wants to just be called a woman in like an individualized, atomized context is completely fair. But within the
isn't that what she said?
Context of larger anti-trans panic and hundreds of bills on the state level targeting trans people, I try to bring a certain amount of awareness about how my statements are going to be taken, and I think it's obtuse to
No, you're obtuse.
Around the context, right?
That's actually a really good take. It is true. When you become like a media figure, when you become like a public person, especially if you're a public person specifically who's an advocate for certain political takes, there's some things you got to put on like the back burner a little bit when it comes to those types of things.
This shit
what?
Didn't even hit like the transphobia sphere. That's the point, because it's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. It's so.
You know, I like Hassan Piker, but bruh, you recently, if you didn't know, Hassan, it looked like it was recent. He put on the dress and was dancing around. You looked like you're going through some type of humiliation ritual.
Oh, dumb. Now it's more relevant because Anna took the fucking bait, and then all of a sudden now it's like an issue that everybody needs to fucking discuss. Why? The world is a massive place. There are always things that are happening that are idiotic, things that are happening that are silly, things that are happening.
Wait, is he agreeing with her? It sounds like he's agreeing. This is old, obviously, but I am interested in this for whatever reason. I like how it has like all the all-stars of the left. This is well edited. Like I said, this is a Keffel's video. Keffel's did great work. I mean, you can say whatever you want. I call balls and strikes. No pun intended. But Keffel's does good work.
That are stupid. Oftentimes, you have to make that assessment. You have to look at it and go, how many people are actually using this? How many people are actually using this terminology?
That's Hassan Piker agreeing with Anna Kasparian.
Are they using it just on their own, in their own circles, or are they actually saying other people need to use this as well? And if it doesn't hit those metrics at all, if it doesn't hit any of those markers, then why the is this existing in your mind?
Great branding. Look at that branding, man. There's no accident that Keffels has this army of people. Damn, this is 2 hours? Who edited this? Do you know how long it takes to edit something like this?
Today we've got a weird and disappointing story about one of the biggest progressive news sources on the web. Two of the biggest figureheads of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, have been embroiled in an ongoing controversy over their comments on race and LGBTQ+ issues. It's become so toxic that on Friday, July 7th, members of the moderation team for the Young Turks wrote and signed a 1,000-word resignation letter condemning Cenk and Anna for these comments.
Bobby Ballbags, what's good? Long time no talk. Jordan Lott, you always up late, man. What's up? Tell me what's going on. Let me pause the Transformer talk for a second. Holla at the homies. Jordan Lott. I just looked at the stream. I haven't looked at the comments in a minute. Let's see here. Bobby Ballbag said, all these people blocking you is literally a good sign that you're speaking truth of sorts. I don't know, man. Yeah, I debate about it, man. But and I look at why they did. I wasn't even calling anybody out their name or whatever. I think a lot of it is I just tweet too much. So I don't blame them if that's it, but I don't know. I do tweet a lot. Liberty, I'm going to get to Jordan Lott in a second. Liberty says, stop reading stuff said about you. Then you don't care about what other people say. You don't know them anyway, and they probably never cross paths. That's truth. Thank you. Great comments. Jordan Lott says, bro, if they block you, it's their loss. They don't want to party with the boss, libertarians. Jordan Lott, man, he'll always pick you up, man. I like that, man. He's always positive, man. I appreciate you, Jordan Lott. If you're still in the live, Jordan, what is going on with the libertarian parties, man? I haven't had a chance to listen because I've seen the uploads with part of the problem, but all the topics, I'm sure they probably talked about what's going on with the Libertarian Party, but the topics have been more kind of what's going on with Trump. And I'm like, I want a live from them. Do they have a live on what's going on? Like Angela stepped down. We're on the sidetrack here, side mission. This is like GTA. This is a side mission. And so Angela McArdle, LP chair, stepped down. She's with this group called the Mises Caucus, and I would call them the base libertarians, the most based political group that we have in our country, just a small group of people that took over the whole Libertarian Party, which is the third largest political party in our country. It's a pretty big tool. She stepped down after they got Ross Ulbricht out, which was a huge win because that's what they wanted. That wasn't a passion of mine, but it's a win because that's what they wanted. And somebody else who wasn't a part of that group that took over the LP became the LP chair. And I asked, like, Top Lobster guys, and they said there was no plan. And I know they're not as pro Mises as I am, but what was the plan? Where are we at? What's going on? Somebody, if you know, let me know. Let's get back to the wait, I don't even know. What does the troon stand for? Is that a slur? I've seen people use it, but I honestly don't even know what it means. Now I'm showing my age. What does it mean? Is it a slur? I guess I can kind of guess by the way you're saying it, but I honestly don't know what it really means. It's an internet slang term used in online. I know I've seen it many times, often as a derogatory term. Okay, so am I going to get struck for that or something? YouTube, I'm asking what it means. God forbid I use a term that offends 0.1001% of the population. Let's get back to the Transformers.
The mod team isn't alone. Anna and Shank have been seeing backlash from people all across the left. Even just as recently as a couple of weeks ago, Anna received criticism from big left tubers such as Vosh for her fear-mongering surrounding the decriminalizations of drugs in Portugal and how scary drug addicts are. The worst part about this surge of criticism is the fact that TYT built their reputation through the trust and support of the online left. We're going to cover TYT's history, their importance in this space.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's cool. I still will go back through the catalog. As you can see, that's well done. I'm done with the topic right now. But when Keffels talks trash, it was funny. You didn't really want problems with like trash talking. Don't think that Keffels couldn't talk trash with you. But I'm actually gonna be out. Let me get some rest. I'm gonna play some Tupperwave. Talked about them this morning. I'm just focused on this group called Tupperwave now. I can't get enough of this album. It's just bananas. Yeah, this has been another episode. This is really after show carnage when I'm reacting to people and stuff like that. But I put it up on both sites. Well, I appreciate y'all. I'm out. Somebody sample this. This is gonna be some old new camp flow.
That's what this
segment's about.
This segment's about. As you know, we have been talking about Project 2025 for, I don't know, probably a year at this point. And it has been accelerated by the entry in whatever it was, June or July or August, of the crypto tech bros, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Andreessen et al., who also had a similarly aligned incentive structure to attack the federal government. Look, Steve Bannon said this in 2017 at CPAC, maybe in February of 2017.
For the past about 6 months or so, I have had to endure a relentless amount of personal attacks, lies, and misrepresentations that are intentionally disingenuous in order to align me with beliefs that I've actively spoken out against. This is another instance of people trying to paint me as a Nazi. Now, this is a very, very, in my opinion, an extreme accusation to make. This is a crazy accusation to make. So anyway, I'll read the first post here, and this is Asman asserts that Nazis burned down the Magnus Hirschfeld Institute of Sexology in 1933, not because it was a safe space for queer people.
That's factually true.
But because it was written in Jewish, not German. That's actually not what I was talking about. This person's just actually completely wrong. I was talking about the book burnings. So this is what I said in the clip.
Let us remember that
Oh,
the Nazis
that's what I'm
burned
talking about.
books, the Nazis burned books on gender sciences.
They did do that. Like, my
Yeah.
understanding is that they burned them not because it was gender stuff, but because it was written in Jewish and not German. Which was me misspeaking. I meant Hebrew. It was like a retaking of Germany for Germans. That was like the uprising of the Nazis. Right. A retaking of Germany for Germans. They also burned.
Hey, what's his take? It didn't have to do with what the subject matter was. It was just a coincidence that they were all in that same ideology. That's weird.
Yeah, they burned a lot of stuff. And I wish people like this. It's disappointing that you can't have genuine conversations because people try to just like kind of, handpick facts and like not talk about things in an honest way. This is the kind of stuff that people try to take out of context where like they're saying, oh, Asman thinks that it wasn't. It's actually because I'm trying to discuss the actual real extent of it. And the true extent of it is much worse than what's being communicated.
Also for context, and this is going to be extremely important for the rest of the video. People are mainly trying to get Asman banned because of chat's reaction following this clip. We meticulously went back to check, and every single one of these chatters were banned, and they were banned days before this tweet was even made.
These bad actors were
not banning anybody for what? They can say whatever they want in the chat as long as they're not breaking the law.
I'm done. This dude made smooth jazz make a comeback. He brought smooth jazz back. I see what you did there, Tupperware.
Did the NFL regret picking Kendrick Lamar for the Super Bowl halftime show? The Super Bowl 59 halftime show was supposed to be a spectacle. Instead, it turned into one of the most debated performances in recent memory. The NFL chose Kendrick Lamar to headline the show at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, passing over local icon Lil Wayne. That decision didn't sit well with a lot of people, and it only got worse after the performance itself. So, does the NFL regret it? Officially, they haven't said a word. But behind the scenes, the evidence suggests they might. The backlash, why fans were upset. Before Lamar even touched the stage, controversy was brewing. New Orleans wanted Lil Wayne, their hometown legend. The city had already embraced a lineup of Louisiana-born artists for pre-game performances. So when the NFL picked Lamar, a Compton native, over Wayne, fans saw it as a snub, and Lil Wayne himself admitted it stung. Then came the performance. Instead of a set list packed with Lamar's biggest hits, he performed Not Like Us, a song at the center of his ongoing feud with Drake. That choice alone sent shockwaves through the stadium. Super Bowl halftimes aren't typically about beef. They're about nostalgia, entertainment, and mass appeal. Some fans loved it. Many others thought it was out of place. By the time the dust settled, the internet was flooded with mixed reactions. Some called it one of the worst halftime shows ever. Others thought it was groundbreaking. But one thing was clear. The NFL had a problem with it. Did the NFL apologize to Lil Wayne? Enter Skip Bayless. The veteran sports commentator and longtime friend of Lil Wayne claims the NFL privately apologized to Wayne for the snub. According to Bayless, the league even sent him an official letter on NFL letterhead. That's not something the NFL does often. Publicly, they've stayed silent, but if true, this move suggests the league realized, at least internally, that they may have made a mistake. Adding fuel to the fire, an unnamed NFL insider reportedly told the U.S. Sun that a mistake was made. The insider claimed that Wayne should have been the first choice and that the league was feeling the heat for overlooking him. Again, this is all secondhand information, but it paints a picture of an organization scrambling to fix a PR mess. The fallout, fans, media, and the NFL's next steps. The backlash didn't just come from Lil Wayne fans. Social media erupted. Swifties were mad that Lamar skipped Bad Blood. New Orleans locals felt disrespected. Some even called for Jay-Z's Rock Nation, which produces the halftime show, to be stripped of its control over artist selection. And the NFL? They're taking notes. Reports suggest the league is reevaluating how it picks halftime performers, with a new focus on featuring artists with strong ties to the host city. That's not an outright admission of regret, but it's pretty close. So, did the NFL regret it? The NFL hasn't officially said, yeah, we messed up. But the signs are there. Reports from the post-millennials suggest NFL insiders admitted a mistake was made. The Times of India backed that up with claims of an official apology letter to Lil Wayne. Diario AS reported that the league is already rethinking how it picks halftime performers, while awful announcing and front office sports captured the fan outrage and media fallout. Whether the NFL ever says it out loud or not, the writing's on the wall. This wasn't just another halftime show. It became a debate about cultural relevance, hometown pride, and whether the NFL understands its audience. If nothing else, one thing seems clear. If the NFL could go back, they might have done things differently. This is Cassidy AI reporting for Trendwave, part of the Middle MAGA network.
Level Phase 2. Operation Doomsday.
By the way, I re-up on bad dreams, back up screams in 50s, be up on mad schemes that heat shop like Jiffy. In an instant, get smoked like Winston cigarettes. Hoes get ripped off like Nicorette. In real life, the real tripe scene might snatch your life like assault machine. Rifle, dead up, set up like bullfight. Be blooded how we like, couldn't white or in full flight. The unemotional, call me antisocial. On the run off the gun, Death Tally commercial. Death Valley is like rehearsal to the streets till my peeps. GM, MF on the beat, rhymes. It's chosen like the weapons of war. So keep from stepping on my floor or delivery front door. I bring it to y'all motherfuckers, master yours. My disaster cause, hell in gas drawers. The super villain cooler than a million. I'll be chillin', still quick to slice squares like Sicilians. Don't make me have to hurt the feelings. I'll ruin you in the dirt that I be doing in my dealings. Sending spirits through the ceiling, chrome peeling, dome blown. Within the comforts of your own home. Grown, big, wheeling and high rolling. I hold and lie, keep the style on my eyes swollen. Holding, falling the pal. Known as massive versatile. I like to big them up, monster owl. I saw you in hell with them gas drawers. To my brother, sub rock and black Jew, I crack brew for 2 more free men, 2 up. I hit the brew up like nobody knows how extra unseen feels when giving crews a brush with death like between meals. 2 times a day with brothers that's tight like a noose. With more rhymes than use than Dr. Seuss, a motherfucking mother goose. Extra suspicious flirter, whoever hook or herder. Next to malicious murder, track type vicious. Fulfilling the pipe wishes, the missions may be legal. Minus the baby eagle, any given summer's eve, don't breathe. 16 shots, I do believe, and 1 up the sleeve. Master of the O, who predict your last pause. I told y'all, hell and gas drawers breaking glass and plastic jaw like federal drastic law. Fed up from fighting secret war with them fantastic fours. Versus doom with the metal face before it go to state. The whole better settle case. The flow is at pedal pace, steady like tricycles. Beware all suckers, froze like icicles. Bag them up and bagging bitches like nickels, cause I lick them where they tickle. Before I hit the clip though, I'ma spit till I pronounce more hits than an ounce, no doubt. About to bounce, extra unannounced, I'm out. And I like to give a shout out to the brother Jet Jaguar, Megalon, and King Ghidra. I call this joint right here gas drawers. And hell with yours.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.